Hey, folks, and welcome into the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel. Back with our two fantastic recruiting analysts, Jordan Scruggs and Hank South. Guys, appreciate you being here with us. A loaded junior day this past weekend for the Longhorns, and I would say a very successful junior day. And we'll start off talking about that. Jordan, I'll kind of shift to you here for now. Sorry to bump Hank out of there so fast, but two commits for the Longhorns over the weekend, one in the 25 class, one in the 26 class. Lance Jackson, a four-star defensive end from Pleasant Grove High School in 2025, and then Racine Guillory, a 2026 running back from Aledo High School. Jordan, what do you make of these two commits, and what do they bring to the table for the Longhorns?
Yeah, great way to start off the 2026 class with the Racing Guillory. He's currently in ranked, but probably projects to being a four-star once the 2026 rankings get updated from the top 100 to a top 247 here in a few months. Great production. He's gone over 2,000 yards in his 2 years of varsity play already. He spent his freshman season at Mansfield Lake Ridge, which plays in the District of Doom with DeSoto, Duncanville, Cedar Hill, Dallas Skyline, everyone else that's in that district. And he had 700 rushing yards in that district. So great numbers for a freshman. He then transferred to Aledo going into his sophomore year. He was Aledo's workhorse this year, led them in all rushing numbers, and he only played in 11 of Aledo's 16 games. Aledo made it all the way to state. Guillory, I believe, tore his MCL. It was in the third or fourth round. So missed the state game, suited up, but wasn't able to play. And then the first 3 games of the season, he missed due to transfer rules with the UIL. So he had great production in 11 games. He averaged over 100 yards per game and, again, led them in all rushing numbers. So it's a great ad. He's unranked for now, but, again, he'll probably end up being a 4-star and could be someone that could end up really being a leader of this class for Texas in 2026. And then in 2025, the commitment they received from Lance Jackson, I mean, in my opinion, if you're taking away the positional value the quarterback position has, this is the most important commitment that Texas has received in 2025 so far. He's truly a game changer at the edge position. He also has a frame and versatility and athleticism where he could end up being an interior D lineman as well. I tend to lean towards him playing edge specifically in Ethan Burke's role at Texas. But again, receiving a commitment this early from someone that flexible, it gives Texas a lot of flexibility with how they can fill in the interior D line and edge numbers because, again, Lance Jackson could theoretically do both. But it's a great ad for Texas, especially this early. He was someone we were expecting to end up in this class, but not for a few more months. And talking with him before he gave his commitment, I asked, were you going into this visit planning on committing, or was it kind of a spur of the moment? And he had said he was thinking about it a little, but wasn't planning on it. And then once he got on campus, he pretty much in his head was like, man, I know this is where I'm going. I might as well just go ahead and commit. And, that's what he did, and he shut it down. He's kind of a veteran of the recruiting process. His older brother is Landon Jackson, who's now a defensive end at Arkansas. When Landon was coming out, he was one of the top prospects in the 2021 cycle, ended up signing with LSU originally before transferring to Fayetteville. But Lance has essentially been getting recruited since his 6th grade year just because his brother Landon was one of the top guys, and it's a big part of why he's ending up at Texas. Washington was one of Landon's top schools, and Pete Kwiatkowski was the main reason for that. And, while Pete Kwiatkowski was recruiting Landon, and he was in high school, he was also making sure he was sending some messages and building a relationship with Lance, who was in middle school at the time. And as time went by, that relationship progressed, and that's a big part of him committing to Texas this early. But again, I can't stress enough how important this ad is for Texas. He's an SEC body, an SEC athlete, and you need guys like this to be able to compete in the SEC. So again, I can't stress enough how great of an ad this is for Texas.
How about that? Knocking in the roots all the way back to 6th grade. That takes a lot of commitment. So good stuff there from Pete Kwiatkowski. One of the things that we talked about heading into the week was how much of a collective effort this would have to be recruiting the defensive line position with no position coach. And so for that, we're going to bring in Hank again. Hank, sorry to throw you out so early, but welcome back. When you talk to recruits afterwards, we were freezing outside, sitting in the parking lot, waiting for the guys to come off the bus. So amongst those conversations with recruits, not just at the defensive line position, but on both sides of the ball, what were some things that these guys were saying that stood out to you, whether it be about Texas or the coaching staff or whatever else comes to mind?
Yeah, what caught my attention was the number of guys mentioning Tashard Choice, the running backs coach. Then obviously we saw a few hours later, Racine Guillory give his commitment. and Johnny Nansen, the new linebackers coach and co-defensive coordinator. And, like we mentioned heading into the weekend, it was going to have to be a collective effort. There was no defensive line coach in place. And that didn't really seem to deter or really mess up any visits or have any real impact. One guy in particular, Floyd Guidry, one of the top defensive linemen in the state for 2025, he was very excited about Texas when we caught up with him at the National Combine a couple weeks back in San Antonio, and saying Texas is his leader. Bo Davis was a big part of that, and almost a guy that we were watching for potentially committing during junior day. We caught up with him afterwards when he was done, and my first question was, how Bo Davis is gone, how does that impact? And he said, Texas is Texas, essentially. That he grew up in Texas. It would mean something to him to play for the program, and he said Texas is still on top. And judging from the way he was saying it, it's going to take a lot for another school to bring him off that high of Texas. And he was even saying Texas won his mom over. She was an LSU fan, and now she's excited about Texas after visiting. So and he mentioned Johnny Nansen as well. He is the linebackers coach, but has a history coaching defensive line, so obviously can talk to guys there. And I think a lot of guys were just really impressed with his football knowledge. One of them, I can't remember the linebacker at the top of my head, said they just sat down and talked football for 30 minutes. And, he's just a really knowledgeable guy, knows what he's doing. He's been to, several stops and has an extensive track record as a position coach there. So a lot of excitement there, a lot of excitement about Tashard Choice. I think the staff brought a lot of really positive energy. And, I think overall the recruits took notice, and we've seen that with the two commitments coming out of the weekend. And I think that momentum will grow into the spring.
And speaking of momentum, I'll bring you guys both back in here for this question. Coming into this weekend, there was going to be plenty of top recruits. I believe more than 20 top 24/7 guys slated at least to visit in the 2025 class. So once again, while we were out there freezing in that parking lot, we got to speak to a lot of these guys and see, who it was that actually showed up, who went through the visit process, and how that process went. So for the two of you, in speaking with these recruits and, hearing about where Texas stands in their recruitment, kind of a two-part question, who would you say are some of the most important bodies that the Longhorns were able to get on campus this past weekend? And right now, where do the Longhorns stand in their respective commitments?
Yeah, I look at a guy like Dorian Brew, the 5-star cornerback from Conroe, and he was a guy that got added to the list late. He wasn't expected. He actually had a commitment date set for January 24th, and then just before the weekend, he decided to postpone. He wanted to take some more visits, and Texas was his first stop. So getting a guy like him on campus, an Ohio State legacy, and LSU legacy as well, has ties to these other programs. The crystal ball is heavy towards Ohio State, and that's where I think anybody you ask would have said would have been their prediction, ahead of last weekend. And then getting him on campus, he was one of the last guys to leave on Saturday night. Spent a lot of time with the staff, with Blake Gideon, with the defensive staff, and I from talking with sources, it sounds like it went really well. All these visits went pretty well. You're not going to find a kid that didn't really have a great time, but it sounds like he got a lot of attention as he should. And, I think they really kind of put themselves into the conversation more so for Dorian Brew. And I know Texas is expecting him back, whether that be for an official visit or more. So certainly, maybe not as heavy Ohio State as we thought. And Texas should be more of a talking point there with Dorian Brew. Another guy, Jordan Davison, the 4-star running back from Mater Dei High School. He made his way back out. I talked to him on Sunday while he was driving to the airport. And I think this was his 6th visit to Texas, which is, coming from California, that's saying something. If you're following the visits, I think you kind of have a good gauge on where the recruitment stands. And, again, another guy that had a really good time. And for as many times as he's been on campus, his family has never been on campus. So this was the first time his family got to come with him. And obviously they enjoyed it as well. And so, I think he's a guy that, early list of, potential commitment guys, maybe this spring or summer after he takes some official visits. So Texas will get one, obviously. I think he could be a guy we see end up in this class. And then the last guy I'll touch on, and we talked about Nansen's impact and with him is Riley Pettijohn, the 4-star linebacker from McKinney. We caught up with him when he was done, and nothing but good things to say. And a lot of these times, top guys like him, they're I'm going to take some visits. I'm in no rush or anything, and that's not to say he's not. But I asked him kind of who are his top schools. And Texas, Florida State, Texas A&M. Like those are kind of the three schools for him right now that he's looking at. And obviously there's more, but I think Texas really made a strong impression on him and his family on Saturday. And I think there's a school to watch very closely for Riley Pettijohn as well.
Yeah, a guy I'll focus on, Michael Terry III from San Antonio Alamo Heights. He's a guy who they've had on campus probably 4 or 5 times before this past weekend, but he finally got the offer he's been waiting on this past weekend while he was on the visit. You could tell talking to him, he's very upbeat, excited about the offer, and he even said Texas is already top 3 in his recruitment just less than an hour after he posted the offer. So to say that Texas is going to be a threat in this recruitment would definitely be a true statement. Texas being closer to him than any other school not named UTSA is going to be a factor in this recruitment. He likes how it's just up the road as well. So, going forward, Michael Terry is the guy we're watching. He's the number 1 athlete per 24/7 Sports, the 50 overall player in the country for the 25 class. And at 6'3", 210 pounds, he plays pretty much every position on the field for Alamo Heights. That's why he's listed as an athlete. Some schools have told him specific positions they want him at. Texas has told him, hey, man, we want you. We'll figure it out whenever you get here. So going forward, they're going to be recruiting him as an athlete. And, I very much expect Texas to be in it till the end for him. The other guy I want to talk about that was on campus was really important was Kamorian Morgan. He's listed as an edge. He's our number 68 overall player in the country. He used to be at Red Oak. He actually transferred to South Oak Cliff over the weekend. His dad was, whenever Sock was going to state every year for basketball, his dad was a crucial part of that team. So a little bit of a homecoming for him and his family. At this point in the recruitment, I think Texas is the leader. I felt like Texas is the leader for a few months now. And talking to my sources near Kamorian Morgan, I've always been told Georgia and SMU are the 2 others to watch outside of Texas. I expect other programs like Oregon, potentially A&M, potentially even Alabama or Oklahoma to enter in the mix, maybe get a visit as well. But, at this point in time, it really feels like Texas is the leader. They've been hitting him over the head with the necessity for pass rushers, and he loves that pitch because his favorite thing to do is rush the passer. So, going forward, Texas is in a great spot for Kamorian Morgan. This is his first time visiting Texas since he came for the elite camp in June. So the fact that you got him back on campus and are kind of keeping the same momentum, same vibes around him really having Texas as number 1 is really important. And it was a great job by the staff this weekend from top to bottom with over 100 guys. So we really want to give the flowers to the staff for the great job they did.
Like you mentioned, Jordan, over 100 guys on campus and a lot of stuff coming out of that. So for the latest from Junior Day, if you happen to miss it over the weekend, or for just recruiting updates going forward, there's no better place to be than horns247.com, so you can read all of Hank and Jordan's fantastic work. These guys are 2 of the hardest working guys in the business. So make sure you head to horns247.com and check it out. Thanks for being here with us on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you're the first to know when new content heads your way. For Hank, Jordan, and the rest of the crew, I'm Tommy Yash. Appreciate you being here with us. We'll see you next time.